Okay, boys and girls, today we're going to be using our retell rope to do a really good retell of the story that we are going to be doing on Raz Kids today. So what we're going to do in this portion of our video is we are going to review our retell rope, and we're going to go through it, and I am going to be retelling our Mercy Watson book that we read together in class. First, we're going to practice an oral retelling. So if you read a story to your teacher and she says at the end, "Please tell me what happened in the story," you would know exactly what to say. If my teacher asked me to retell her the story of Mercy Watson Thinks Like a Pig, it would start like this. First, I would tell her about the characters. My teacher would want to know the characters' names, not just the pig or the lady. So I would say the characters in my story are Mercy, Eugenia, Mr. and Mrs. Watson, Baby, and Francine, the animal control officer. Next, my teacher would want to know the setting of the story. Remember, the setting is not just where it happens, but when it happens. So I would say the setting of my story is Mercy Watson's neighborhood in the afternoon. Now, my teacher would want to know what the problem is in the story. So I would tell her that in this story, Mercy ate all of Eugenia's pansies, and that made Eugenia really mad, and she called animal control. Next, I want to start telling what happened in the story in the right order, in a sequence. So I would say, in the beginning, Eugenia plants pansies in her yard, and Mercy finds them and eats them all up. This makes Eugenia mad. Next, Eugenia calls animal control because she has had enough. Then, animal control officer Francine rushes to Mercy's neighborhood. She can't find her, so she decides she has to think like a pig. After that, she finds Mercy having a tea party with some neighbor kids. Francine falls out of the tree she's spying from and lands in the middle of the tea party. Finally, there's a big commotion, but everything gets figured out. Mercy does not get taken to the pound, and they all eat toast at Mercy's house. That's Mercy's favorite. Now, you notice when I was doing my retell, I had more than just in the beginning, next, then, and finally, because my book was a little longer. That's okay if you add a couple of extra details to the sequence, but I do always want to add my details in order. Finally, you might have noticed that I said things like, Eugenia got really mad. When I add details, extra details from my story, that tell how my characters feel or what they were thinking, that also adds more to my retell. That's what I would do for an oral retelling. Next, I'm going to show you what it would look like for when you write it today. Today, you are going to be doing a written retell instead of an oral retelling. So when you get your paper, the first thing you need to do is put your name at the top. You need to write the title. Mine was Mercy Watson Thinks Like a Pig. Remember, the titles have capital letters at the beginning of all of the important words. Next, you have to find the author of your story. Mine was Katie DiCamillo. Remember that her name is a proper noun, and it also needs to be capitalized. Next, I'm going to do exactly like I did in my retell, and I'm going to tell you who the characters are in the story. I want to list the important characters. I don't have to put each and every character, just the most important. Next, I'm going to tell you the setting of the story. The setting of the story in this Mercy Watson book was Mercy's neighborhood. Now, I forgot to put that it happened in the afternoon. I would have to go back and do that because I forgot to tell you when the story happened, not just where. Now, the next part of my paper is where I'm going to start putting my sequence of events. So I have in the beginning, Eugenia plants pansies in your yard, and Mercy finds them and eats them all up. This makes Eugenia mad. Next, Eugenia calls animal control because she has had enough. Then, animal control officer Francine rushes to Mercy's neighborhood. She can't find her, so she decides she has to think like a pig. After that, she finds Mercy having a tea party with some neighbor kids. Francine falls out of the tree she's spying from and lands in the middle of the tea party. Finally, there's a big commotion, but everything gets figured out. Mercy does not get taken to the pound. They all eat toast at Mercy's house, her favorite. Now, I didn't have to write the problem in this one like I had to tell the problem in my oral retelling because I included the problem in my written sequencing. All right, boys and girls, now you know how and have been reminded the proper way to do a written retell and an oral retell. Now you can do your retell on the Raz Kids story that you read for this part of your E-Day.